Have you ever thought about how are the Flutter project setups done for the production, or do you ever want to set up a Flutter project in a clean and a maintainable way so you don't have to worry or you don't have any difficulty maintaining the project when the project actually grows? From my experience on building the Flutter apps, I have came up with this course where you will learn everything that is needed to set up a Flutter project for your production application. And this will be a door opener and will be really helpful for any Flutter developer who are preparing to get or searching for a new jobs on the Flutter side. And also it will be really helpful for any Flutter developer who already has a job, and this can really give a boost to their career and confidence. So let us go and see what you will be learning in this course. In my classroom, you can see I have a first section where I introduce myself, and you will have a course syllabus and a repository. And then we have a clean architecture part where we will be learning clean architecture regarding the layers, how the clean architecture are setups. And we'll also learn about the separation of concern principle, and also about the controller service and the repository pattern. After that, we will learn about the solid principle, where we will cover all of the 5 principles from the solids. This will be really helpful if you want to be a better developer or if you want to understand the project more clearly. And the third section, we will be learning how to set up our Flutter project. So here we will be learning about like setting up the Flutter project, creating your GitHub repositories, and like setting up your workflow strategy, and how to set up the version management, right, setting up the flavors in the Android and the iOS, and how the code signing is done on the iOS as well as on the Android, and also configuring a multiple environment for your development, QA, UAT, and the production. We'll be also using a translation and configuring a lint. Also we'll be configuring like the internet connectivity observers, logging, and all of those stuff. And on the fourth section, we'll be learning about the Firebase integration, where we will be using a Flutter Flyer, configuring the Crashlytics on the Android and the iOS, as well as configuring the like the push notification, and configuring the push notification on the Android as well as the iOS. And also we will configure the image notification, which is really difficult to configure on the iOS side. As well as we'll be looking into deep links on using the Firebase dynamic link, and also the Firebase performance. So using all of this concept, you will have a base setup for your Flutter project, where you will have a really easy time maintaining when your Flutter project actually grows. Because in the large project, you need to have some kind of the proper setup architecture, and you need to apply some principles, so that when your Flutter project actually grows, you have easy time maintaining all of those stuff. Whatever I have covered in this course is from my personal experience building the Flutter application, and I have applied all of this concept in my Flutter application, which helps me to build and maintain a large scale application. So I hope you will join this course, and if you have any question, do contact me. I will provide my email address down in the link below, as well as the course link. So see you guys. Let us look into the SRP, or the single responsibility principle, from our solid principle. So this is the first principle that we need to understand, and the definition is quite long, but we are going to focus on the specific one, which is that every class should have only one responsibility and only one reason to change, which means that whenever you are defining on any classes, modules, or the function, just make sure that this class, function, or the module, or the feature that you are developing should have only one responsibility. If you have a class, let's say an invoice class, and that invoice class should have only responsibility related to the invoice, and it should not have the responsibility of printing or downloading or creating a log file and all of those stuff, right? So that is a different responsibility. And also when you want to change that particular class or the function, you should know that only one reason to change that particular function or the classes. When you have a class like an invoice and you have a print invoice, and you have create a log file and extract it to the Excel or convert it to the PDF, you have a lot of the responsibility over there. So what we need to do is we should have only one responsibility. If it's for invoice, just make sure the functionality related to the invoice is over there, not related to the extracting to Excel file, downloading as a PDF, and all of those stuff are not the responsibility of the invoice. So right, so when you are creating classes or the function or even the modules, make sure you follow that particular principle. That is the SRP, or the single responsibility principle. So let us look into in a practical way how we can create or how we can apply a SRP, or the single responsibility principle, inside our application. So let's do it in practical way. I have created three folders. One is of the SRP, which is a single responsibility principle, and the problem and the solution. So in the problem, we need to create a file. Let's say invoice.the.file, and let's create a class over here, which is of an invoice, and let's have some of the function inside this. So one, let's say we have a double, and let's say of sum the total, and it will take the double as a parameter, and let's say amount over here. And here what we need to return is the let's say a final, and we have a total, and this total we have a amount that we are getting, and let's calculate it with the tax. So let's say some tax that we have a function. Currently we don't have it, later we will create it, and from here we'll return the total. And what we'll do is we'll go and create one function which returns a double, and this double, let's say sum the tax, and we will just return some value from here. Let's say a random value, so we don't stick. Okay, so this one should be sum the tax. Okay, so we have a two function. One is to calculate the sum, one is to calculate the tax over here. And let's say that we have a sum of function. Let's say print, let's say this one should be of a void, and convert we want to convert to, let's say Excel. So let's say we have a function to convert it to the Excel, and let me quickly fix this one. Convert to the Excel. And then let's say I'll just want to log it, and don't want to do anything for now, and convert to Excel or Excel or something like right. So we want to convert it. And also let's have one function which is of void, and let's say print right. So let's say a print, and then we will just print the sum functionality from here. Let's say the print takes some parameter of let's say a string, and the text that we want to print it, and then we will have let's log it. So print, and this print let's print the text that we are getting in. So we have some functionality over here, and let's say we want to have some logging functionality over here. So whenever we are doing something, we want to log that particular things. So let's say in the calculation of the total, what we want to do is we want to have something like a try catch block over here, and with this try, and then we have a catch, and in the catch we will catch the exception. And then here what we will do is I'll just move this one inside that particular, let's move it here, and let's arrange it properly. And here here whenever there is an error, I want to log it to let's say a file. So let's say a final file, which is of equals to a file, and then this file is not be in from .html. We should import it from the .io, and here we need to pass in the file name. So let's say log file for the error.the log file or something, right? So we just create a log file from here, and then let's say we have to log it, and I'll just say final dot, and then I'll just select the final. It should be of a file that we have dot the write. So we'll write write as a string. So I will just pass in the content we have a e dot the let's say to a string. I'll convert it, and I'll just write that one. So now we have a total. It says that body might be completely, so we need to return from here. So I guess we need to return from here something, right? So I'm returning from here, but let's return from here something like a value of 0, and that should be fine. Or else you can create a new variable and return it later when everything is set up. So for that one, you can also do like a final let's say a total, let's say total, which is of equals to, let's say by default we have 0.0, and here we will just return a total at the end, and then this total final variable I can remove it, right? And okay, so this is a final, so I'll just have to make it as a non-final. So let's say dou double, let's create a double variable. So I guess that should be fine. And we have now if you take a look into this class, so what are the things that you can find a issue over here? So we have one invoice class, and it has to subtotal, sum a total. It has a function to sum a tax. It has a function to convert Excel, and also it has a function to print, and it's also logging over here. So if you follow the single responsibility principle, we saw that it should have only one reason to change, and then class or the module or the function should have only one responsibility or the one reason to change. So if you see this class, this class has now a lot of the responsibility. It has let's say some total that should define some tax that should define is including on the invoice, and it has a log functionality that doesn't belong to this invoice, right? Invoice class should not be logging. It can log it, but you have a functionality that is have a different functionality. It's not related to the invoice, it's related to the logging. So you should separate it somewhere, either to the functionality function or to a different class, right? And then you have a convert to Excel. So convert to Excel is not related to the invoice. You can convert it invoice, you can convert it to the Excel, but it should not be in the invoice class to have that functionality. So later you want to convert it to the PDF. So what will happen is you will have to come to this particular invoice class, and then again you have to create a new functionality to convert it to the PDF, or you have to change this functionality to convert to something like convert to the PDF. And also for the printing, printing is not related to the invoice, since because this print functionality, you need to make it as a reusable component, whether you are printing the invoice or the pay slip or the any other things that you want to print. So it should be a reusable component, right? So it should not be inside this particular sales invoice. We can extract that particular responsibility from here. So what I can do is I'll just go and create a new file over here and just call it as a main.the file over here, and I'll have a main function over here. So what are these final invoice, and which is of the invoice class that we have, invoice class that we have. And now invoice dot I can do like this, sum the total and pass in the total amount over here. And also when I want to print it, or I want to do something different, like if I want to do a convert to the Excel, right? So let's say I have to access that particular invoice class and I have to do convert to Excel and do some other stuff, right? So this is breaking the single responsibility, because this particular invoice class doesn't has a single responsibility, and we need to find a solution for that one. So what we'll do is we'll go to our solution and let's create a new class. Let's say an invoice, and then the dot file inside here, and let's copy all of these things from here. So we will just copy everything from here and paste it. And if you see, we need first we need something to log. So we will create let's say create a new file and call it as log, let's say logger.the file or something. You create a log, and let's create a class, and this is of a type of the, let's create a logger class. And now we can have a function to not the function, I forgot it. I was thinking of Kotlin. So what I will do is over here is I'll create a void function and a void, and let's say a log to a file, and then let's pass in the name over here. So what I will do is I'll just pass in the string, strng string, and let's say error or something like a text that you want to log it. And then I'll just move that functionality from here. So I'll just copy this thing, and now I'll just pass it over here. So I'll just import that one, import the .io, and we have to log it as a text that we are getting. So we have separated this one over here, and then what we will do over here is in this invoice class we will create a final, and we'll just call it logger that we have, and the let's create a logger, and let's create a constructor for this one. So let me quickly fix that one and create a constructor, and now I can use the logger over here, and I can remove this one from here, and logger dot log to a file and pass in e dot the toString. So now now this particular, we have separated it to a different class, and now that this invoice class depend on the logger class to function to make the login, but the functionality or the logging things that we are previously doing on this particular has been separate to a different class. So now this class has the responsibility to log. The log responsibility has been separate to a different file, which is a log to a logger, and then we have a function to log to a file. And then what we will do now from here is another one that we can separate is to convert and to a print. So what we will do is we'll create a new file and call it as file, or the let's say you can have anything, give file converter, or let's say I'll just call it a doc, let's say convert converter dot the dot file. We scale this, we call it as a class, and doc converter and ver converter. So you can just give a name, but the name should be reasonable to differentiate what that particular class is doing. So for this one, we are converting a document and logger and the invoice. So the naming convention should be accurate, because we need to know that what that particular class is doing when we see that particular class name, right? And then inside this converter, what we'll do is we'll have a function to do this one. So we don't have any logic currently, we just have a printing logic. I'll just move that one over here, and I'll just say convert to Excel. And if you see that this invoice class now doesn't need to convert anything, but if you want to convert, like let's say you want to pass in some object, or let's say you want to pass in as hash map or the map object, so you can pass in over here. Let's say I just want to pass in some the as a string, and then I can just do something with that string, right? So that's up to the implementation, how you implement it. But now we don't have that functionality over here. Whatever we want to if you want to convert it, we'll just pass in as an object, and I will just do it on the separate class. So now our invoice class has don't have any responsibility for converting and our convert to Excel or convert to PDF. So with this, you can either have a convert, just one function, a convert to doc, and then you can use that one to convert it, or you have a different functionality to convert to Excel, and that depends on the responsibility that you want to set. And also for the print, what we will do is I will just create a new file, and I'll just call it as print.the let's say not call it as a print, I will just say call it as a printing printing. I guess if I make it as a print, it may conflict with the internal framework, so I'll just call it as a doc underscore print. So print a document, right? So I'm not naming as a print. I'm not sure if I named as is a print, it may conflict it. So I'll just create a class and a doc printing, or the document printing functionality. So what I can have is I can just copy remove this functionality from here, and now if I want, I will paste it over here, and you can see now this particular doc print has only one print functionality, which is to print, and it doesn't have any other responsibility. Now if you take a look inside our this particular class, the invoice class, now it has less responsibility, which is just to sum a total and sum a tax. Even you can extract this sum a tax to the tax class. That depend on the implementation, right? So how you want to separate. It's not that the things is that how much you want to separate, how much you want to implement a separation of concern or the single responsibility. That particularly depends on your team or the dev that is working on, and it should not go to the like only one function in particular class. That's I think that's not a good idea to have just a one function inside a class. You can have a multiple function, but when you extract it, be reasonable, and you should know that what you are doing and what is good for you. You should not go like and extract all of the functionality and make it just a one function inside this particular class, and that's too extreme, right? So that's particularly depend on your team or your coding standard that you have. But I guess we should follow a single responsibility in a certain extent, that the class or the function should have only one responsibility and only one reason to change that one. If you want to be more specific and go extreme, you can also extract this particular function and create a different class, but that's up to you, right? So it may be a bit subjective. Some people may say you should extract this class function, or even this one you should extract it somewhere. That's depend on the particular person, or it's depend on how the user thinks. But don't be too extreme. Be a real problem solver. So just learn how to solve the problem. So make sure your code is clean, and make sure the people understand your code and easy to read, easy to change, and easy to maintain. Then that's the main concept over here, right? It should not be like having just a one function inside a class. That's I guess that's not a workable things. And the principles or all of those architecture things may say a different thing, right? But we should be realistic, and we should know what is good for us and for our team, and what should we implement. right? Don't think that if the clean architecture says that you have to extract it till you just left one function inside the class. No, I guess that's not the thing that we should be doing. So I guess you got some idea about the single responsibility over here. Just make sure that to be reasonable when you're extracting the function or the classes, and it depends on your team and up to use, like how much you want to extract. It's not the principle that's you want to use it over here. It should be the problem that you're solving, to make it clean, to make it more readable, to make it more maintainable, right? Easy to change. That's the things that we have to keep in mind. So let's meet up in the next one. Till then, have a great day.